Ireland returns to the voting booths this October yet again, and we're being asked, should we repeal our blasphemy laws? Since the most recent amendment to law back in 2009, not one person has been convicted of breaking the law. So is this referendum absolutely necessary? To discuss this, we're joined by Michael Nugent, chairperson of Atheist Ireland. Michael, why bother when this law isn't even implemented?
Well, there are two main reasons. One is that it's a silly law and an anachronistic law from the 1930s that we should be removing from our constitution. But although it hasn't been officially implemented, we know from our own experience that several media outlets choose to self-censor themselves because they just don't want to get involved in even the possibility of a blasphemy case. And more importantly, it's used internationally by Islamist states at the United Nations to give an example of Western hypocrisy of trying to stop them from murdering and persecuting Ahmadi Muslims and minority faith Christians in Pakistan and other countries. They use the Irish blasphemy law as an example of why it's justified for them to have blasphemy laws, because we're the only country that has passed a new blasphemy law in the 21st century.
Well, is that actually accurate? There may not be other European countries that have blasphemy laws, but we were just discussing earlier in the programme, there are many other European countries, I think Scotland, one of our nearest neighbour being one of them, that have laws about respecting religion and that prohibit religious defamation. Germany has them, Italy has them, Austria has laws like that, Canada, Australia.
Yeah, there are countries that have these anachronistic laws that have been there for ages, but Ireland is the only one that's passed a new one in the 21st century.
Well, now, hang on. Like we only passed a new one because they had to, because the Constitution. So it's not that we deliberately set out
there's several different options there, and everyone expected when they were revising the Defamation Act within which it resided. There were 3 ministers for justice during the period that was happening. Everyone expected that they would take that opportunity to remove the blasphemy law, which had only been put in place because of that anachronistic clause in the Constitution. And it was only at the very last minute that Dermot Ahern decided to instead implement it instead of removing it.
So he said his hands were tied because it was in the Constitution.
Well, that was his opinion, but it wasn't the opinion of the previous 2 justice ministers that were shepherding that bill through
it may have been when push came to shove. But go back to the point that other countries have similar laws.
They do, but there are 2 distinctions. One is between old anachronistic blasphemy laws that were in place from decades ago or centuries ago, and they're now starting to get rid of them. Denmark got rid of theirs last year. New Zealand, when they discovered last year that Ireland was possibly going to prosecute Stephen Fry, discovered that they had a blasphemy law and announced they were getting rid of it. So the pattern is getting rid of it, and the United Nations Human Rights Committee has constantly said that it has to be got rid of. So that's the first distinction. But the second distinction is between laws that are aimed at protecting people from injury and protecting religious people as well as non-religious people, which are important on the one hand, and laws that are protecting ideas from criticism, which is essentially what blasphemy laws are. So we're perfectly supportive of the right of freedom of religion. We think it's important that people have the right to freedom of religion. But ironically enough, it is blasphemy laws that are used around the world in theocracies to prevent minority faith people like Ahmadi Muslims or Christian minorities or atheists from practicing their religion. So
that's not happening here, though. That's not happening here. Is there something to be said for just having a modicum of respect for religion?
Yeah, sure, of course there is. For religious people, not necessarily for religious ideas, or indeed for non-religious ideas. People should be entitled to criticise atheism as strongly as they wish, without causing harm to atheists as people. And I would strongly support people's right to criticise atheism. And indeed, you are allowed to criticise atheism because the blasphemy law only protects religious ideas. It doesn't protect non-religious ideas.
Okay. All right. You'll be voting yes anyway. Michael Nugent, chairperson of Atheist Ireland, thanks indeed for talking to us this morning.